to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour gospel and music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul with Sister B. Mello and Mr. George Pearson brings to you the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called The Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own. So we also always want you to relax and vibe out maybe to cool sounds, fireside chats, which we're having today, and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. The first corner is the artist talk. The second corner is why I dream. Oh dear. And we are not live. Okay, let's go here. Back over to settings. Audio. Mr. Adam is going to kill us.
No, the audio is good. It's not live. I don't know why.
Live?
Did you hit? Yeah. Did you hit the
No, that says end.
Yeah.
So it's, you don't see it?
I don't know. For some reason.
Oh, dear Lord.
You might want to go out. Oh, wait a minute. It just came in.
Okay,
Let's
Jesus.
go.
It's sorry, all. It was delay. We over here panicking a little bit, but God is good because when the devil is in the midst, God is always in control, and we want to continue to believe that, trust that, and know that. As I was saying, the first corner on Cafe Le Blue Lounge, which is every first Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have the artist talk. We showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They share their creative process and their lived live experience. The second corner is Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of today's brilliant mind, along with the geniuses of our past. We are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. The third corner is She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where individuals share their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done and is doing in their lives, which are inspirational messages. Also, we highlight golden lights affirmations to impart healing medicine in the soul of the brilliant minds today. Every second Saturday of the month, we have the medicine hour with my co host, Mr. George Pearson, a physician assistant. This is where we believe in building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit, body and spirit, is essential to having mental wellness. And what we eat is important, healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month, we have the medicine hour with Mr. George Pearson, the founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine. It is a nonprofit charitable organization which is community based, health education advocacy based, and resource based organization that uses public media such as radio, newspapers, and church based community health fairs to provide healthy information and education. We believe vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and being light to a bringing light to a very dark world. The last but not least is where you on today. Community Voices highlights and hosts the kitchen table with my co-host, my host, and I am the co-host, Mr. George Pearson. We have real conversations with individuals, organizations, or ourselves, community-based leaders, business owners from around the Bay Area to across the globe that are making a difference in the world. Of course, it is a mouthful, but of course, you have to take care of the bills and take care of the money first. Again, we want to thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. Please tell a friend to tune in. We are here to bring you. Go ahead, Mr. Pearson. We're just giving suggestions and solutions. We're not
Well, we were talking about the fact that we have to do a disclaimer that this is
Yes.
not medical advice, and if you're concerned about medical issues in regards to anything we talk about, please ask your provider. And we want to first of all, uh, this kind of started as a show when we first started doing the shows. And I wanted to talk about gun violence, and because my granddaughter was murdered about 6 months ago. It's hard to associate that time. It's hard to associate death. She's only 31.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even hard for me to remember the date sometime. It came in on a Saturday morning. I want to thank Barbara for helping. I want to also congratulate Barbara on graduating from
Thank you.
Lady College with her AA.
Yeah.
It was a great thing to do, great thing to support. We always have to support each other in each other's dreams and hopes and aspirations. And so education has been a real important part for her to not only have education, but to continue to be a lifelong learner. So I want to congratulate her for that. And this was the beginning of a show we did initially. I guess it was first or second, maybe in third show we talked about gun violence, and in particular, discussions around that. Although I want to give a special prayer and shout out to the folks in the Uvia, Texas. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And the loss of 18 babies and two extremely, from what I understand, community educators, and also a prayer to this young man who was a young man. And I'm going to emphasize that because it's going to weave a discussion about um, what's happening to our young men and how broken and damaged they are. And those men that are being left behind and I was thinking about being left behind by the lack of education, the poverty, the lack of access. And again, we've talked about this, that the majority of women of color are going back to school and getting degrees. Welcome. Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome. And then we also want to highlight, we're praying for the folks in Buffalo too.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Yes.
And this is, well, the continuing thing we thought was talking about mass shootings and gun violence. And I think
And before you go there,
Yes.
we want you all to know this is a heavy topic. So please get you some water. If you feel a certain kind of way, please get up, walk around, get you some fresh air. We definitely have to take care of our spirits because we experience so many things and not understanding that sometimes the pain and different things that's happening in our bodies are a part of not releasing toxic energy and just being mindful of our bodies needing to depress. Go ahead, sir.
And I also want to add that, one of the big things that's happened is a discussion around trauma and how we are as a group, as a nation, uh, processing it.
Yes.
And so kind of wanted to give people that piece, to one, understand that, this is nothing easy. There was some discussions around how you talk to your children, and
right.
I would suggest, you do your homework
Mm-hmm.
and learn about how to approach it and how to discuss these things, because if you don't discuss it with them, someone's going to tell them.
Absolutely.
And
Or they'll
so-
see it on the internet or on their phones.
And again, this discussion around how media plays a role.
Absolutely.
And so, in terms of positioning or setting some of the stages for some of this, and what I want to tell people is this is not a simple solution. It's a multi-layered, and it goes back to the beginnings of this country.
Come on now, tell the
there's
truth.
not a simple solution to this. It's going to be a multi-layered solution-based issue. I said that some of the I was trying to get the solutions first, and so they talk about gun background, universal background checks, gun education, gun locks. Does everyone need an AR-15?
No. No.
And just a FY,
My
I'm
goodness.
ex-military, and these weapons can shoot 600 rounds
Holy
in,
Jesus.
I think it's a minute. So
Wow.
what weapon do you need that can shoot 600 rounds in a minute? And they used to be banana clips. It even extends their ability to lock and load.
You know,
And
before you even go there, just think about that. Why would we need something like that? Unless in you, I'm fearful of guns. You know, my father was a security guard when I was younger, and I begged him not to take that job. He stopped, but it was just a fear to me. I know when you have a gun, somebody's going to die or they can die. So that was fearful for me. And I've been ever since
Yeah.
a child. I'm 57 years old, will be 58 June the 21st. But however, it still affects me today.
and that's the issue around the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was saying, I was kind of conflicted about this discussion because of my granddaughter, and the young black man is now incarcerated because of that.
Yeah.
But again, you know, again, the thoughts and prayers go out to those families and the 18 babies and the 10 black folks
Yes, Lord.
at the top New York supermarket. And just think about it, that supermarket had to be closed. It was the only supermarket in the area. So you get whammy twice. You lose 10 beautiful
Yeah.
people of color, and you can't shop at the supermarket because it's a crime scene. And I said that I think this is kind of misplaced from my review of the literature and my understanding that mental health is to blame, mental illness is to blame, and it truly isn't. And I think that it's trying to reduce it to a simple issue, not who has guns, doesn't have guns, sue the gun companies, the Second Amendment right. So, again, the Second Amendment right says the Second Amendment right is a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That was written 300 years ago.
Oh,
It was written at the onset of this country, and it was written at a point where we needed to be able to call to arms individuals in these United States, and that's what its purpose was. I don't know, and I'm not sure. I would wonder what the founding fathers, or Mr. Cruz says the founding enslavers, would think about this. Um, and it says that it gets into my mind the Second Amendment rights and the issue uh, and I'm going to throw something in the mix that this issue in Texas was the same issue, almost comparable to George Floyd, and it was 9 minutes that George Floyd was being murdered. Well, these recent records say that it took them 48 minutes. Took him 48 minutes
Hmm.
before they identified the shooter as going into the classroom, and he goes inside the classroom, and they marshal forces, and there are 19 officers outside that door. And the current protocol, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that as uniformed officers understanding the threat, uh, they need to basically rush the door and take the door down and free those folks, or they were supposed to engage this guy, the shouldn't kill with the guy. They knew he had just killed a few folks, and that it's something about getting to people within an hour, because if those kids are injured or hurt, it takes an hour to get them to the emergency room. Or prior to that, because if you don't, they usually will die from bleeding to death and that kind of thing. So the question is like, as we saw George Floyd murdered, uh, we saw on the TV, mothers and fathers held back from going to get their children while officers were outside their doorway.
Mm.
So that's the real question that has to be answered, because the discussion is that Mr. Perdue, who has the NRA, would say that the only thing that stops a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun.
Oh my.
Well, you had 19 supposedly
Logic is
good
that.
persons outside that door, and they did not breach it. They waited 48 minutes.
Mm.
So if you thought about that, and they wouldn't let um, they held the parents and the loved ones back from going to get their children,
Mm.
but they didn't go in. So this whole issue around good guy versus bad guy, if that were the case and this was supposed to be a scenario, they should have rushed that door and got those kids out, and he would have saved them, because 48 minutes is, you just think about the
That's
tick
a
of a
lot.
clock,
Yeah.
and what this guy is doing, because he had ammo, he had everything, he was in a suit. So that's the discussion that they're going to have now about this interface. Well, you can shoot an unarmed man of color, but you can't attack a guy with an AR-15, because the reality is that they were outgunned. That's why we don't need these weapons. And I'll just say that they were outgunned. They
Mm.
knew it.
Wow.
And if you think about this, you have a weapon that can shoot 600 bullets
Woo.
in the space of a minute.
My God. That's
So
scary.
what would have happened? They took him down, but were they right? Were they scared?
They were scared.
Well, you can do a whole bunch of assumptions. They're going to have a
Yeah.
discussion about this, because
Why didn't they rush in?
why didn't they storm?
Right. And
Um,
was it because of the area they were in? Was it because there's a whole lot of things that
so
there's going to
here's the
have to be?
discussion. Those
Yeah.
are 18 Hispanic children.
Okay. Because
So
anywhere else,
well,
they
we're not going
would
to
have.
say we're going to make the
Okay.
assumption.
We'll make this.
Make the assumption that
That's
if
my
this
own
were
opinion.
18 white children,
Mm.
or this was a man of color attacking, would it have been the same response? Would they have stormed that door knowing there was 18 white children being murdered? So they have to answer that question too, because they definitely went against protocol, and the on-site call by this individual still didn't make any sense, because you still had to extract this person out of the room. You weren't, so we'll find out about that. I guess it talks about the right to bear arms, and one of the things I searched was mental health, um, gun violence, and ideology. And when you define ideology is spelled IDEOLG. It's defined as a system of ideas and a system of ideals and ideals, especially ones which form the basis of economic or political theory and policy. And I submit to everyone that we're in a very, very sick ideology.
Yes, we are.
So, and we consistently look to leadership, and I have to bring this up because what is it that has 50 men that can give you Juneteenth but want to take away your vote and can't vote on sensible gun legislation just because it's for the good of the company, good of the country? And then the discussion is around Second Amendment rights. That's why I read it, because in this context now, it's not appropriate. In this context now, it's not needed. In this context, this is before we had layers and layers in the military, before America was America. It's some questions that have to be answered, I think. And
Well,
kind of go on. Yeah.
Just want to say that you've tuned into the Community Voices, where we have the kitchen table, where there is real talk, real conversations, and heavy, heavy, heavy at times. So we want to definitely thank you to believe, to believing, yes, and have tuned into the Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour gospel and music station. And you are listening to The Eyes of the Conscious Soul with Sister B. Mello and Mr. George Pearson. Again, we are here to inform, educate, and share, and hopefully, prayerfully, share solutions.
Well, I mentioned them,
Yeah, you did.
and I'll keep mentioning them. But the ideology is driving this.
Uh-huh.
How we think about this, and it gets into some discussions about gun rights versus non-gun rights versus, the right to bear arms versus, this glorification of guns in the society, and too many guns, too many access again, too many free. So I was reading the ages of these kids. These are kids that have done these mass shootings,
Jesus.
and it's
Wow.
average of 18 years of age. There was one over 20, in Uvalde, 18 years. Buffalo, 18 years of age. Parkland, 19 years. Houston, 17 years. Sandy Hook, 20 years of age. Uh, Columbine was 18 and 17. So, what is going
In the
on
hearts and minds of
of
those
these young
individuals.
men?
Yeah.
These young men,
We
and
need to.
we're not even talking about, at this. I'm just listening to them. We're not talking about the injured. We're not talking about the traumatized. We're just talking about the circle,
Yeah.
And so it begs the mind what we need to talk about and how we need to talk about. And you're gonna do
Well, I was just wanting to share that please go on the website of NAMI Contra Costa. They have resources. They have a faith focused grief support group that happens every second Friday of the month from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then, yeah, because we deal with a lot.
yeah,
We deal with a lot,
yeah,
and we're just wanting to give you resources that's going to help and support you. We have the African American Uplift program, also that provides services for individuals of African descent. Go on NAMI CC, NAMI Contra Costa, and pull up information. We have a Tay group, like you were just talking about, support for young folks. And they meet every fourth Monday of the month from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the young lady's name is Naomi, that you can get in contact with, and Cameron and Tamara. The number is 925-765-9268. And this is for the take group from the ages of 18 to 32. And I'll just share what they have here. It says, join our African American young adult led support group. We provide emotional support and opportunities to share your story, advice on school, work, mental health, religion, and etc. Coping skills discussions, and a space to build relationship connections for young adults ages 18 to 32. Through the group is catered and focused on African American communities, and they welcome all to join. However, we have support groups to be able to support our young folks. And I want to say that NAMI CC, NAMI Contra Costa does have unique programs that caters to the African American people, along with others to the BIPOC community. Go ahead, sir.
well, and I think that as we start to understand this more and move forward toward some of the healthcare models that are very effective for people of color, particularly the patient-centered medical home.
Yes.
But we need to always now have an emphasis on Africans in America. Those have been, of the, I always say 1619, and a good friend of mine, Carol, says the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So those are cast in that net have a different kind of health issue. We need to identify that and call it out for what it is, because that's why we don't get better. We don't get better because the needs we get health care, but we don't get care.
All right, now
You know,
say that again.
I said we get health care, but we don't get care.
Absolutely.
And and I've been saying this: public health is not public. It needs a whole new reset because the resources and all those things are an
Well,
issue.
isn't it important? And that's what NAMI CC, well, I would say Miss Gigi Crowder supports and is encouraging that county to create a let us build a health um, community, health clinic, health culturally
So
sensitive
yeah, so there's two models
folks.
out there.
Two models, okay.
One's for the hub and one for
The hub,
a
that's what I meant. The hub,
and
community hub,
and we'll
our
see.
reparations.
Right, because I think the hub says it's temporary and it's just like short lived. That's why I'm more advocate for a home, more advocate for those services and being in one place, and advocating a very African centric piece to the care. Different than a hub. A hub is always about you come and you go and you leave. So that's what we've been doing for 300 years, coming, going, and leaving.
So forming family and community.
Exactly.
And bringing home.
Right
Yes,
now,
I love it.
now there's a group that pushing the hub, and we'll see how that plays out. But it hasn't been successful because again, I've always quoted the health statistics, and we're number one in everything, right? So if we're number one in everything, how we've been being
and disparities lie with African Americans first.
Right. So if that's the case, then we need a different model, or at least try a different model because the model we've been using
is not working.
Not working.
It's not
so,
working.
we took up this gun violence issue as a part of women's history, and again, this got personal for me. My granddaughter Jamie, I miss her so much, but this is not something.
I just wanted to say too, and we also want to. This is for anybody that has lost, community, family, and members in the African American community to gun violence.
Definitely.
We just want to hold you up, and we love you, and we support you. We're praying for you.
And I took this information from a number of papers. I won't give the titles. The gun culture and firearms and gun violence and mass shootings in the United States, a multi-level quantitative, means from a mathematical standpoint, analysis looking at it deeply by Frederick Lamar at Washington University. The the theory and action beyond gun control, examining neoliberalism, pro-gun politics, and gun violence in the United States. And the breadth of some of these articles was to say that this issue around gun violence is multifactorial. It goes to the deepest parts of American culture and it goes to the deepest parts of American culture. And it's just not a simple approach. And they talked about gun violence. It's not as simple as having mental illness and using a gun. This is not what's going on. Again, majority of people die of suicide. The majority of people, particularly when color, die from and a majority of deaths had to do with people that people know. And definitely in terms of domestic violence and those kinds of issues.
And we want to highlight that this is Memorial Day weekend. So, people are going to be drinking, they're going to be getting together. So we're asking everybody, please be mindful, about, guns being in the house. In the house.
Again, one issue is to secure the guns.
Yes.
They shouldn't be in the area.
You're going to have family members over, you're going to have little kids.
Have never mixed.
No.
We know that to be the case because what happens is
driving,
it just doesn't mix.
All of that.
Some other articles were mental illness, mass shootings, and the politics of American firearms. Again, American is apple pie. Guns are American apple pie, and that's the discussion. Shooting rampages, mental health, and decency. These are some of the articles that we reviewed in preparation for this talk. And the why, in terms of the gun violence and mass shootings, it examined the merit of two propositions at the center of the debate of gun control and the aftermath of mass shootings. So, in the discussion of the need for red flag laws, what are red flag laws? They said that a person can be prevented from getting a gun if there's a questionable background. So you can hold until you make sure this person is okay to have a gun. Sounds simple. Universal background checks. And also registry checks, in which the universal background checks sometimes miss people that are in between the lines, and so you need to be registered so if they can cast a broader net for people that have had maybe been hospitalized, maybe had an issue with violence. That's tends to be an issue. People that have violence tend to appropriate violence. They tend to kill people with guns. And um, a request by the majority of the Republican-controlled legislatures and the Senate to pass intelligent gun laws. To do a collaborative effect as has been being asked for the last 20 years. So if you want to talk about blame, there's a lot of blame to go around.
And they were trying to put it on one side,
right?
blame
Exactly.
one
That's
side.
what I want people to see.
No,
No,
we're
it's
not
not.
going to.
No,
It's just not no one-sided here now.
It's not, and never has been.
Right.
In a cooling out period, an assault weapon ban, which existed a while back, and now with it being lifted, we've seen a preponderance increase in the use of these guns.
Gun violence. Yeah.
Right. And I'm for trauma-informed care, and there's about 5 principles to it. It says that the principles safety, choice, collaboration, trustworthiness, and empowerment, ensuring that physical and emotional safety of an individual is addressed. The first importance is providing trauma-informed care. So a lot of you can see it on TV, and we feel it too. You feel, you're sad, you're scared, you're frightened. You are. You're thinking, what is going on here? You're thinking about family and friends and children going to school, coming from school. Because it opens the door to these things. Because this is the lone wolf that we're talking about. That he's not a part of anything, but he fed himself on the media that said that he was being replaced, that he was in his case, this 18-year-old from Chihuahua, Texas, he talks about a pattern of bullying and abuse to him. And
oh my gosh!
And so,
well, see, all of that plays
all
a role.
All the stuff is on Facebook too. So
oh my goodness!
Here's a discussion around when it's just not one thing, because
a build up,
right? Of course, like a powder keg.
Yeah.
He shoots his grandmother in the head.
Jesus.
So what's going on with him that had him do that?
Yeah.
So again, young men, disenfranchised, made to feel odd.
Yeah.
All those kind of things.
That's it's amazing that you said that. Not amazing, but it's to feel odd. To feel different, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. We all uniquely made. We don't have the same fingerprint, but society has conditioned us that we're in competition with each other. And not only that, you're better than I am, and I'm better than you, and all of this type of ideology is crazy.
Right.
And we need to get that out of the schools and out of the hearts and minds of our children, because that's what they're facing today.
So here's a take-home message, and then I want you to go through what you go through. It says the review suggests that the stigma linked to guns and mental illness is complex, multifaceted, and is self-politicized. In as much as the decisions about which crimes U.S. culture diagnoses as crazy and which it defines as sane are driven by the politics and racial anxieties of a particular cultural moment, as by the workings of individuals' disturbed brains, beneath seemingly straightforward questions of whether a particular sentence meet criteria for a particular mental illness lay in ever-changing categories of race, gender, violence, and indeed the diagnosis itself. Please.
Once again, we want to thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every first Saturday the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, which there are artist talk. Every second, there are 3 15-minute segments. Sometimes you can put them all in one.
Like this.
We're about having fun too. So, it's the second corner is Why I Dream. And then the other one is She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. And every second Saturday of the month, we have the Medicine Hour with my co-host, the host of this show for the Medicine Hour. We get it mixed up because we do this.
See what
We
happened when you
tag
graduate from
team.
college.
We
You
tag team and we work this thing
educated,
together.
and you
So
know,
you know,
yeah,
this
I got my D grade.
this
Okay.
is what it's about. We're partners in doing good.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah,
you know, we sharing the information that's needed for our community.
yeah.
And this is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover is health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, and the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental health and understanding that healthy eating habits are important and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Education is the best medicine is every third Saturday of the month with the host and the founder of Education is the Best Medicine is Mr. George Pearson. And today you have tuned in to the Community Voices, which we host the kitchen table. Go ahead, Mr. Pearson.
Well, you know, in this discussion around mental illness and gun violence, again, this is not a simple solution. It's
No,
multifactorial,
yeah.
and a lot of biases cover this. You
Intergenerational
know,
trauma.
all of it, definitely. And again, not just that, but processing that trauma. You
Absolutely.
know, and so that you can move on.
And
You
that's
know,
why we're sharing these organizations that are there to encourage you and to help you and help you move along the
yeah.
way. You know,
So
this is what it's the support.
in
It's
these
very important to have.
in these shootings, I guess there are four central assumptions as noted by one of the papers that I reviewed. Mental illness causes gun violence. Psychiatric diagnosis can predict gun crime before it happens. U.S. mass shootings teach us to fear mentally ill loners, and because of the complex psychiatric histories of mass shooters, gun control won't prevent another Tucson, Aurora, or Newtown. And I would say categorically, as we look at folks with mental health issues, a majority of the deaths are from suicide first.
Yeah.
And from one extreme, you
Woo!
have white men that commit suicide, and on the other extreme is young black men that die. So that's a real big mix and a big generational and intergenerational issue. Why the same things as killing young white men and killing old black men.
Mm.
You know, and then between women, when you talk about women, we've talked about women, but just the discussion around that. Interesting enough, women are killed with black women particularly killed with handguns, and they usually know the person that's killing them.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
For being a practicing as a physician assistant for the many of years that you have practiced, what was the inspiration to you creating Education is the Best Medicine?
Well, because of this,
Because of this. Okay.
and I guess like many people, you want someone else to do it. So you don't want to take the hit or the egg on your face or someone, again, bullying you. So you're silent. So at 66, when my granddaughter was murdered, I could not be silent. And because the whole discussion around this is as big as life now, and it's important that that discussion not be lost because I don't want another grandfather to join this club.
Right.
And so, but the issue around education of best medicine is a discussion around having access issues and health issues, and discussing those issues from a person of color's point of view and their fears and issues, and talking with people and talking with interfacing in the healthcare system and understanding that for a long time we thought it was us. We thought our problems were because we weren't working hard enough, like pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and all that kind of thing. But now you see institutional and structural issues that were designed so that you would not, be successful, that you would not be perceived. The worst thing is two successful black folks having a conversation.
Absolutely.
So that's again. Remember, for a long time we weren't allowed to learn. We weren't allowed to be taught. We could not use our native language. And so, again,
And we still consider that as 3/5 of a human being.
there you go. So that's in the Constitution, right? So the
Mhm.
same
And
Constitution,
it's still there.
same one that gave you Second Amendment, right?
Okay.
So that's the discussion that we're having now because um, some would call this advanced race theory, but it's not. It's just the truth. So if you don't like the truth, then that's the
And
discussion that we
history
have to
speaks
have.
for
Right.
itself.
So what we're having right now is we're not having history, we're having his story.
Right.
So we did always engage in the concepts of history, and so this discussion is evidence-based in discussion. It's not just someone talking. I'm not
Right.
for guns
And that's the reason
against
why
guns.
I'm sharing and
Yeah.
asking too, is that you've been in this practice and you've been doing this work for over,
Maybe
I would say 40
30,
years.
yeah. Seems
Over
like
40, yeah,
Yeah.
over 40 years now. I would say 40.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you
Yeah.
for holding down our community and our people. And thank you for always bringing us the education is the best, bringing our community that education is the best medicine because you always inform and encourage your clients, the patients that you deal with to do research,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
advocate for
I think it's really
themselves.
important. I think it's really important for people to be knowledgeable
Mhm.
on whatever it is, and as we start to talk about
And no, we don't have a
hypertension
threshold for pain.
and diabetes, of course not. Until we and then discuss it from a cultural standpoint
Mhm.
and how a lot of the basic things, what we eat, our lack of or exercise, our stress level, our rest level,
Mhm.
all these things affect our health. They're multifactorial. It's just not one thing. And I think that's the take home message for a lot of this, and back to the discussion on this gun violence issue. So, and discussion on they want to make this a simple conversation, whether it be talking easy availability of guns, too many guns, Second Amendment gun rights advocates, and so and they believe the problem lies elsewhere, including permissive criminal justice system that panders to criminals, a failure of public health education, the fostering of a culture of dependence. This is what you hear, that the reason why we are being killed by guns is our fault.
Mm.
So this has a
absurd.
discussion that's kind of
That's crazy.
mind-numbing for
Right. Sounds ludicrous.
well, not if you believe that's the case,
Okay. If that there's true.
So I think it's important to present both
Then you need to check
sides.
your mental. No, okay.
Well, yeah, you're right, but I'm saying you have to check both sides because they believe what they believe,
Right.
and people believe what they believe. Too many guns versus too little guns. Not enough criminal justice in relation versus too much. But we should always agree that everybody shouldn't be able to get a gun, and particularly if you're 18. And then all this stuff is being laid to bear. He probably still had acne on his face. Hormonally. And what I mean by that, he wasn't hormonally ready or intelligent enough to be using a gun. But if you get him and you walk up, they were saying that he could not drink in the state, but he could buy a gun.
Gee whiz.
Think about that, and I think that all these, this stuff goes into the Second Amendment gun right advocates, and they believe the problem is elsewhere, and again, criminal justice that panders to criminals, and we are a welfare state, and this is the thing that's driving gun ownership. We own more guns per capita than any country in the world. I think it's something like 125 weapons per person.
My
like
goodness.
Hey, and more so. And so the question is that not that you can't get a gun. It's that first of all, I don't have a problem with people owning guns, but I don't think they need an AR-15, a gun that shoots 600 pills per minute.
Right.
With a banana clip, which is a clip that adds more ability to more rounds.
That is so scary.
And that's when you look at some of these mass shootings. That's what they had. They had high-powered weapons with banana clips. Now This young kid was really advanced because he had body armor. So I mean, outfitted for war, right?
Yes.
Basically outfitted for war. Um, and but here's the problem: is that in a paper by researcher criminalist Gary Kleck and Don P. Cates, it showed that firearms are used more frequently by law-abiding citizens to repel crime than used by criminals to perpetrate crime. Moreover, he noted that citizens acting in self-defense kill about 3 times more assailants and robbers than do the police. And so it's not surprising in the survey that 1,800 prison inmates, 81% agreed that a smart criminal tried to find out if his potential victim is armed, 74%,
Wow.
and said that burglars avoid houses where people are home because they are fear of being shot, and 30% to being scared off or shot at, wounded, or even captured by the armed citizen. So that's the kind of balance you have in this, and again, the point of it is that uh, and so back to the balance. Yes, a sometimes the only thing to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, but the guy has to be there. He has to have a gun. He has to be able to use it because what usually happens is he ends up shooting at people.
Woo, you have tuned in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. Please tune in, tap into Believe Radio, go on the Facebook, uh, click the box, do a comment, and share it, and let it be your inspirational gospel music station. Um, we want to thank you again for continuously tuning in to Believe Radio. We have other shows here on this particular programming, and please pull them up, and never forget. Please don't forget that COVID-19 is still here. We want
Yes.
you. I just want to share some information with NAMI CC that they have. It says, "What is Cal Hope?" Um, NAMI Contra Costa offers statewide support services to African Americans in need of support due to the devastation of COVID-19 through Cal Hope. Our crisis counselors are made up of African Americans who live the experiences, peers, and family members with specific subject matters experts via our COVID-19 warm line. NAMI CC provides culturally sensitive, non cultural crisis counseling for African Americans by African Americans. We provide resources, information, and support to help people find their way during the difficult times of the pandemic and social unrest. To reach the broadest audience, we are working with African American faith leaders across the state to facilitate trainings and replace misinformation. We want you definitely to contact the NAMI CC. Contra Costa is 925-465-3824. Cal or email calhopeconnect.org. Thank you for allowing me to share that information. We just want you to mask up, understand that this has not gone away,
No.
and we want to keep our families and friends safe. And
It's just different now.
it's
And so-
different. It's a different way of life.
Yeah, it's a different. So in terms of COVID, the um, virus is already transmuted, and now we're in this COVID A and B. It's probably a C, D, and E coming.
Oh my goodness.
And as I've said before, the real issue with this is the last group that needs to be vaccinated, ages 6 months to 4 years. When they start vaccinating those kids, and like Moderna now has a 3-pronged vaccine for the kids. But again, gets back to the 30% that aren't vaccinated. So that 30% aren't vaccinated, their kids aren't vaccinated, and they're going to be going back to school. So I think this is going to really rear its ugly head around October, November, December, when the kids go back to school. Um, you have something?
Yes, I want to share. We would like to invite you to the 15th annual Oakland's Juneteenth celebration hosted by BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. It is a free community event. It is on Saturday, June the 25th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and it is highlighting walking in purpose. I am the revolution. We have live entertainment, community resources, vendors, and more. The location is 925 Brockhurst Street and 3233 Market Street in Oakland, California, on the side of the West Oakland Youth Center. We'll be using the St. Mary Center and the West Oakland Youth Center. We have an array of different acts that's coming. You have J Red Gospel Explosion from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And then we have the Umoja Outdoor Ring. And then we have health screenings, outdoor day, a play day, a Coma's Market on the road, the YAB/Tay zone from that's hosting HHREC, mental health awareness, resources, screenings, movie screenings, and author workshops and talks, fashion shows, all that kind of good stuff. And we're having a community award ceremony, which happens every at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, we are also going to be um, giving the Believe Radio, amongst some other individuals, awards for what they're doing in the actual community that's going on. Thank you, sir.
Well, I guess too. The reason why this is important too, because gun violence it's a public health issue. It's
Yes,
always
it
has been, and
is.
always will be. And the pandemic just let it bear it out. For example, in 2020 was a record-breaking almost 40,000 deaths attributed to gun violence in the U.S. And 20,000 were classified as murder or unintentional death, with more than 24,000 as suicide. Again, suicide breaks everything up. Black men were 10 times more likely to die from gun violence than their white counterparts. Um, and I think that um, the U.S., we are number one. The U.S. had the highest rate of gun-related deaths among developed countries, approximately 20 times higher than other nations. Um, and something like 100 people die in gun violence. So this is just not mass shootings. This is, this is us. This is the individual. Those are the individual communities that suffer this. And again, the costs are astronomical. Something to the rate of almost $280 billion.
Wow.
Uh,
But we can't house the homeless, feed
yeah,
the geez, you say food, clothing, shelter all the time.
social determinants.
So yes, and we're sending money elsewhere, but we're not able to take care of home first.
Oh God! It says
This is
this is in the U.S. Firearms, uh, handguns account for a majority of gun violence deaths. Mass shootings are a small percentage of gun violent deaths, and again, a small percentage of folks with mental health issues that commit these crimes. Um, uh, they say you can't treat hate, so more so than mental health that's driving these murders. It's hate,
yeah.
um, and it just it's an ongoing issue that affects our community, affects the economics of the community, affects our mental health. It's trauma. Um, and again, we talked about what needs to be done. Better mass registration. Um, uh, Certain people are not supposed to have guns. And passing common sense laws, waiting periods, red flag laws. All these things would help decrease what is definitely a public health epidemic. I think that uh, we
Boy, time flies when you're having fun. We have like 5 more
get out of
minutes.
here. I'm
Boy,
loving this. Okay.
yes.
Gonna,
But on a high note, we definitely want you to be a part of the 15th annual Juneteenth celebration, which the BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. is bringing it to you in Oakland, California, walking in purpose. I am the revolution. The date is Saturday, June the 25th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., 3233 Market Street on Market and Brockhurst and between Brockhurst and San Pablo. Please come out. If you would like to be a vendor or need more information, please email Miss Howard at bhbrilliantminds at yahoo.com. bhbrilliantminds at yahoo.com. And it means begin healing brilliant minds. So, again, we want to leave you all on a high note to please support the 15th annual Juneteenth celebration. This was a vision that God gave to me, and I had support from the community and oh my God, everybody just uh, came together and made this happen and continues keeping it happening. And this is about creating a legacy for our people. This is what it's all about.
so I guess finally, the issue is the why. So a common explanation is that gun violence in the United States is a violent country, including defining violent periods of the American Revolution, the Civil War, the Wild West, and most of the domestic conflicts resolved through the use of weapons. The guarantee of right to bear arms, be armed for self-defense, the legal justification for use of lethal power, and authorizes an individual to kill a person if perceived unlawful, threatening, or attack is imminent. Most recently, the Stand Your Ground laws. And they expand the scope of self-defense. There needs to be some moderation in these things. People need to start thinking about what they're doing and how they're doing things. Again, it's not just a simple solution. People with mental health issues that get a hold of guns, because there's a very small percentage of people that use these guns to commit these mass murders. So I think in time we need to re-examine this and stop asking for simple solutions to a complex problem.
And I would be remiss if I did not thank the sponsors. My goodness, the City of Oakland,
Okay.
St. Mary Center.
This for Juneteenth?
Yes,
Okay.
my goodness.
Okay.
Oh my God, of the City of Oakland, St. Mary Center, Ebalsi. And then we have the Oakland's International Film Festival, HHREC, the Godfather Extraordinaire, the Black Minds Matter 2, the Black Culture Zone. You have BH Brilliant Minds, Hip Hop TV, and Homies Empowerment. My goodness. Look at here. We made it. I definitely would not want to not say thank you to the sponsors and all of the others that have supported Juneteenth.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, we have a few more minutes.
So I would like to say that again, the solutions, right?
Solutions. There we go. Can we end this with some solutions, please?
Solutions.
Oh my goodness.
Require that we
because it was heavy. It's a heavy topic.
Have a spine and challenge the paradigms. And again, it's around background checks, universal background checks, gun education, gun locks. Again, does everyone need an AR-15?
No. So these are questions to ask yourself?
No, these are solutions.
These are solutions, okay.
Yeah. Background, universal background checks. And evaluating people fairly for mental health issues and their ability to have or not have a gun. And the issue is people's rights. So if a person is deemed not to be able to hold or be able to get a gun, can he get that right back? Just like driving. If I'm deemed not to drive, can I get my right to drive back? Because that says, well, I'm going to go seek out a gun regardless. Because I think one thing is said is that people want to get a gun, they can get a gun. It's just the state that you're living in. So
Well, again, we want to thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. Please check out the Eyes of the Conscience Soul every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Believe Radio. Don't forget to go on Believe Radio and let it be your inspirational gospel music station and allow Believe Radio to bring you the community voices that's sharing all of this great information to inspire and to encourage and to motivate our people. We want to say thank you and good night. And I'll give you the last. We
I
are
want
at that time
people.
and it's done now.
I want people to become involved and advocate for the change and the change they want to be and see. Um, we can no longer be silent. We have to put ourselves out there and so that we can have change. So that a 31-year-old granddaughter could have seen her daughter raised.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.